video connection with Kent Langley, and Kent Langley is going to talk about our EXO ecosystem. So he is as we speak, in San Francisco. It's late in the evening or early morning. The connection is working on the other side, so please bring Kent on. And here is Kent. He cannot hear us, that's why I am on the phone. So after his presentation of 12 minutes, if there are questions, we do it in the old-fashioned way through the phone. Ken,
Okay.
it's yours.
Huh?
Can you
All
hear me?
right. I hear you, Paul, through the phone, and I hope you hear me. Please confirm.
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
great. Yeah, as you can see, I'm in California here, so it is 1:43 a.m. I heard the rumor that I'm your last stop before lunch, so I'm going to try to be efficient here. You can see, as Paul said, my name is Kent Langley. I am the Chief Science Officer for OpenExO Inc. If you want to know more about me, you can go check me out at that lovely vanity URL. So, what I'm here to talk to you about today, in my role as Chief Science Officer, is one of the projects that I've had the real pleasure to work on for the last 2.5 years. The project is called the ExO Economy. The idea, which was born 2.5 years ago, was that we would find a way to create a financial system effectively for the world that we were starting to see come together with the transformation projects that we were running. And we had our Genesis block. If anybody knows what that is, a Genesis block is when you start a blockchain up for the very first time. You have to make kind of the first database entry. That's that first block. And it's fun if you've been studying exponentials here a little bit with the team, then you'll know that you'll know what this means. Our Genesis block was on 04, that's April, 08, so 04, 08, 8th day in 2018 at 1600 hours, 32 minutes, and 00 seconds. So we were having just a little bit of fun on that day with exponential progressions and our Genesis block. But what's really fun is that we actually just had our first birthday. The EXO blockchain, or the Exos blockchain, just had its first birthday. And what I want to start off a little bit here with is a couple of things. So I'm going to change the screen. You should be able to see here what's going on. This map that you see here behind me, this is a map of what we call staking activity all around the world. And this is absolutely fascinating. I'm showing you a view of the last 180 days. And everywhere you see a glowing pixel in green or red, with the red being higher concentrations of activity, that is someone or a server in our network running a piece of software that is helping to run the blockchain that underlies the EXO economy. And if you start to think about what that means, it means we have our own means of exchange of value. It means we have our own means of store of value in this software application, really, that runs on top of the blockchain called a token, the Exos token. So let me give you a quick tour of how you can kind of find all these things, just if you want to come back at some point in the future. So I showed you here, this heat map has grown pretty much organically over the last year since we've gone live. You've probably seen this website a few times by now, but I'm just only going to point out this little tab here hiding at the top called the EXO Economy. And the EXO Economy, the website here, will show you everything that's going on. You can see today I put, hey, we're presenting live at the OpenExO Dubai Summit to tell anybody who was coming to the site that we were going to be doing this. And then what happens, and I'll say the most important thing on this site that I want you to know about is probably this Tools tab. So if you click on that Tools tab, what's going to happen is you're going to come to a page where you're going to find all these pieces of software that we've run and the places to go get the software. And I just want to give you a very, very quick tour of some of these. So I want to repeat something I said. The EXO economy is effectively the economic rails for the EXO movement. It's our use of a particularly interesting piece of exponential technology called blockchains and cryptocurrency that give our network of human beings their own native store of value in the Exos token, their own means of instantaneous exchange over the network. And how do they do that? Well, we have a piece of software and we call it a wallet. It's pretty simple. And I'm going to open it up and show you. So you see the splash screen there. It's asking me if I want to allow connections. I'll spend a second on this because it's really critical to understand what's happening here. My computer is about to join a network of all of those other computers that you saw in that heat map all over the world, helping collaboratively to build a shared state, a global distributed ledger, or if you want, just a database or a blockchain. And so I'm going to connect to them now. And in doing so, I become a part of that network. And if I were to receive tokens here into this wallet, Exos tokens, then those belong to me. And it's very difficult if you were to want to take them away. And then I can send them to you if you do something for me. And where would you do that? You might come into, let me show you another thing. Let's assume that there was some sort of a transaction on the network and you wanted to see that. This is a thing that we call the Block Explorer. Because our blockchain is public and permissionless, anybody can examine the blockchain. So imagine you're an auditor and you want to see the list of transactions that's been going on. You can do that by coming here into the Block Explorer and taking a look around. And you can see that you can drill down deep into the transactions. You can see what block it was included in. Now, what you'll notice is there's no names on here, and that is by design. These transactions are effectively private unless you choose to expose that you're the one who did it by sharing your transaction ID or various other potentially identifying numbers and hashes. But if we take a look at thinking, well, what's the point of all of that? Well, what's its utility? Well, what we've done is we've worked hard to provide something that we call service liquidity in the EXO economy through the OpenExO platform. So what you see on the screen here is just the first tab of the OpenExO platform. You have the leaders of the platform team there with you. They can tell you about this and probably have been, I'm sure. But what's important to see is that when you click on the ecosystem tab, you're going to see loads and loads of people. There are over 560 people in this ecosystem that are prepared, and they've been trained, they've been certified, they have all these different skills and attributes. They know EXO inside out in many, many, many cases. All of these people are being connected together in a small marketplace. We currently call that opportunities. And inside the opportunities, there's some interesting things going on. Now that you know we have our own token, you know that we have our own blockchain, you know that we're building an economy, then you can come in here, and if you look around a little bit, you'll start to find some interesting projects. For example, this one, which is put out by OpenExO. We have an experimental lab. And in the lab, we've partnered up strategically with a company that has figured out a way to use old bread to brew beer. And then they take what they earn from creating and selling that beer to help end food waste. And it's a tremendous project. But if you take a look here, you'll notice it's happening and it's being driven by the use of the cryptocurrency. You'll notice it says CivX here. We're in the middle of the brand transition from CivX to Exos. That'll change to EXOS really soon. So don't worry about that. It's the same token. And this is something we call service liquidity. The fact that someone can come here and hire a curator and effectively pay for that person's time and expertise with the token is service liquidity. Now, the interesting thing is that we're really early here in this space, and we're kind of at this point where it's private still. And so the service liquidity is the primary form of liquidity that exists in the economy itself. So you can get help with a coach. You can get help with an advisor ticket. You can, ask for a curator. There's any number of things that you can do. We've done millions and millions and millions of EXO's worth of transactions over the first year of life of the token. And that's extremely exciting to me. But the really exciting thing for most people in the network is to know that we are headed toward a much, much more public profile. And I mean that in every way. I mean the tokens being available for acquisition by the public. I mean them trading on public exchanges. And when that happens, it's a big shift to our world. We go from looking and feeling a lot more like a company or a startup even, to looking and feeling a lot more like a global emerging economy. And so we've done some interesting things in bringing in people to our world as advisors, like Frederick Imam Zaid. He's the chief economist for the Dominican Republic. And he's an expert in global emerging economies. So you can imagine why we would like to have him on our economics council for the ExO Economy. And then we've brought on Philip Rosedale, who's graciously agreed to help us out. Philip Rosedale is the founder of Second Life, which is one of the longest running and most successful digital economies with real economics and real ties back to real world fiat currencies in human history. So Philip is helping us out a little bit with this, and he's actually even started a new virtual world called High Fidelity that is absolutely fascinating. We're working with Brock Pierce, who is one of the co-founders of the Bitcoin Foundation and is actively a very active member of the cryptocurrency called EOS. And there are many more. But the point is, we have an unbelievable team that's helping us as we start to make this transition from looking and feeling a bit more like a company or a startup to looking and acting and feeling a lot more like a global emerging economy, when different fiscal and monetary policies kick in and change the way that we value the network and things scale. But ultimately, we have a very, very clear goal in our minds of why we did this. Why were we sitting around 2.5 years ago and going, this is pretty neat. Why don't we just go and build an economy? You don't get to say that every day. And in fact, for most of history, that's been completely impossible. You just didn't have the way to do it. But now with modern technologies, blockchains, cryptocurrencies, networking, cloud computing, all of these things go in together, sort of these, I think as Salim would call them, Gutenberg moments, all coming together to help us out and being able to do such a thing. Our singular goal is to empower the community, really empower the members of our economy with the capability to do those transactions that they need, irregardless of whether they may or may not have a particular dollar one day. We can make sure that they get EXOs, and we have done that. We've worked really hard to distribute EXOs. All those shiny dots you saw on the heat map are the EXOs spread all around the world, working already to keep the network healthy and secure and ready to work to provide digital transformation or exponential transformation, we hope. And they'll do that by collaborating with their EXOs through the OpenExO marketplace on the EXO platform, connecting the buyers of transformation services to the providers of those services, who are all the members of our ecosystem. And, like I said, it's kind of like the economic rails of the EXO movement. It has immense possibilities. We're just at the very, very tip of the spear and learning how to use these new tools and how to deploy them and how to work together in a network like this. But really, the sky's the limit and what we can do. And if we're lucky, then this work that we began and that we continue with the Exo Economy will actually be at least one small part, of transforming the world for an exponentially better future. That's our massive transformative purpose, and that's why we built this thing. So, one can hope that is what we find. All right. So thank you so much for the time here today. I really appreciate it. And I'm very happy to take any questions that may come up.
Okay, Kent, thank you very much. It was exciting ride through what we are trying to do here. Are there any questions? Can you hear me, Kent? Give me a signal. Yes. Okay. Any questions? Kent, you were so clear. But yeah, as a data scientist, what could we think else? No questions.
No
Yes,
questions.
here is a question. Kent, here is a question.
I've got a question, Paul. Just by a quick show of hands, who has ever completed a cryptocurrency transaction in the audience?
I think about 10%, no less.
Okay, so see, we've got some work to do.
7%. Yeah, we have some
We're a
work to
pretty
do, yeah.
friendly on-ramp to the world of crypto, so if you'd like to learn a little bit, let us know. We really just want to help. That's for sure.
You saw that red and green dot in the vicinity of Dubai? You saw that dot in Dubai? That's me.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah, yeah. Here, look. Here you are.
So I'm making money every day.
That's exactly right. That's something that I didn't really get into that too much. But what Paul is saying is that when you are staking on the network, you are being compensated by the network through the creation of a new token. So if you, as what is happening to Paul, sort of win the next block is one way to think of it, then you get a small amount of compensation. You get one token, one EXOs, in return for helping to take those transactions that were part of that block, put them into the data structure, and then attach that data structure, which we call a block, to the blockchain, which is the next in line. Let me see. What do we got here on the Block Explorer? What block are we? 483,772. So whoever gets the next block, I'm not staking right now, so it won't be me, is going to be doing that, and they will be compensated, as Paul brought up. So that's a very good point, Paul. Thank you.
So, Kent, here is a question.
So, sorry, the question is the economy of the token itself. Like, can you walk us through it? The economy of the token, is it just mining? So the token is just for creation of new blocks? And how do you go, what is the economy of the token?
So the question is, what is the economy of the token?
Okay, I'll have to take a little liberty if I go off track. Just correct me. So what I think you mean is what we call the utility of the token, and the utility of the token is the access to the underlying transformation services through the marketplace on our platform, and those services tend to be performed by ecosystem members. And so all of those transactions together, all the world over, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, doing things like sprints, the programs that we run for organizations, or fast tracks, the programs that we run for cities and countries, all of the transactions for all of those programs going all of the time by all of those people, that's the economy. But most importantly, the economy is people.
So to give an example here, once we are doing sprints,
would you like
for
me to
instance,
share an example?
Our ecosystem allows us, or we get paid in dollars, or we get paid in civics or EXOs. Or if you are writing a chapter in a book, or if you are writing an article, or if you are doing amazing stuff like organizing the summit, it could be paid in EXOs. So that is how we are trying, by services, to get this economy going.
Comments on that?
I will need you to repeat the questions. I'm not able to pick them up over the phone.
So can you hear me what I'm saying here, Kent? Give me a signal.
Okay. Can you help us? It is really difficult. Can't give me a signal. Okay.
I'm still here. I think you still hear me, but I'm not able to get the questions from the room, so I will have to have them repeated, please.
So there was not a question.
Oh, okay.
It was more a remark how the economy can work based on services. So if we, for instance, do a sprint as coaches, can be paid in EXOs or in dollars.
That is correct. What we actually see in real behaviors in a young economy like ours is that there is a kind of this early adopter group of people who are willing to take a lot more in terms of total percentage of tokens over dollars. Perhaps they don't necessarily need the US dollars or euro cash flow. They believe in where we're going, and they're willing to take a little more of that if it's perceived risk. In other cases, we find that people are willing to accept somewhere between 10 and 20% of the tokens for the given job. So we do hybrid all the time, where the job might be paid part in dollars, part in tokens. Now, what I anticipate will happen, economically speaking, is that as the network matures, as the token and the networks together grow in value over time, we'll see that invert, and we'll see people more willing to accept tokens. The thing that's really going to push that over kind of the edge, if you like, is market liquidity, more so than service liquidity, because people do want to know that they'll be able to take that token and exchange it for something else in addition to the service, to the utility items or the service liquidity in the ecosystem and marketplace. But we're in the very early days. So we do see, as I said, we've done millions and millions actually of transactions.
Kent, here is another question, and then we wrap up.
How are the banks responding to it?
Okay, so the question I heard was, how are the banks responding to this? Is that correct, Paul?
Correct.
Well, the banks at the moment, from an EXO economy point of view, are not very worried about us. We're pretty small. But when you look at how the bank's responding to cryptocurrency in general, you can extrapolate that we will, over time, fall into those similar categories of immune system reactions. So there's a couple of different responses. You've got, on one side, it's just like this. It goes a little bit like this. That's absolutely crazy. It's never going to happen. It's not worth, it doesn't make any sense. And this stuff can't work. So we're just going to ignore it, right? I call that the ostrich with their head in the sand. It's absolutely ridiculous. The second type of person or institution, I guess I should say, as represented by people with banks, is going, okay, this isn't, I guess there's three. This isn't really anything that we're too worried about. Everything's going to be just fine. It's all status quo. And then in the background, they're paying tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars trying to innovate in blockchain without telling anybody, so they can be ready and try to get a piece. But there's a little problem with most of those strategies, is that they're going after what they think of as private blockchains. And that is not where the real scale is likely to be. It's going to follow the exact same arc that we saw with cloud computing over the last 15 years. Public cloud won, period. So we're going to see public blockchain win as well over time. Now, there is a third type of response, and this is unusual, but there are a couple of institutions out there that are being very, very much on the edge, very open and willing to experiment and learn and participate. And then something really interesting happened over the last few weeks. We saw very well-known colleges with large endowments starting to come in and invest in cryptocurrencies across the board. And then it surfaced over the intervening weeks that this has been happening more and more and more. So the reason I mention that is because you're start to see what we call institutional money come into crypto. And this has been predicted for some time now. The banks can't ignore that. That money normally goes to them, and it goes to their brokerage partners. So it's not something they're going to be able to ignore for very long. So that's how I would answer that for now.
Okay, Kent. thank you for your explanation and your tour to our eco system, or to our EXO economy, better to say. Thank you so much. Go to bed, sleep well, and we are in touch soon. Thank you so much. A big round of applause for Ken.
Thank you.